Hey you, I just launched a new website focused on language learning and polyglottery. Check it out for tips, tricks, and cool language-related content. Click the link in the description. Hello! Welcome to the Polyglot Files. My name is Michael, and today we're doing another episode of Languages of the World! As I'm sure you can tell by the title of the video, today's episode is going to be a little bit different than previous episodes of Languages of the World. Rather than focusing on one country and all the languages spoken there, I am actually going to be focusing on a time period. But we're not picking just any time period. Welcome to ancient times. The first language on our list, and perhaps the most influential language to Western society, was Greek. It is thought that ancient Greek is about 5,000 years old, and its earliest inscription dates back to 1350 BC. This inscription was found on a clay tablet called Linear B. However, there has been another clay tablet that's been found called Linear A, and that dates back to about 2500 BC. The only problem? Linguists have toiled over this tablet for decades, but they can't figure out what it says. So we can only really estimate that this is some earlier form of ancient Greek. Going back to the tablet that we can decipher, Linear B, the alphabet used on that tablet is said to trace its roots back to the Phoenician alphabet, or the oldest alphabet in the world. Because of that, we have been able to decipher what ancient Greek used to be like and how it relates to the Greek spoken today. Primarily, it seems that ancient Greek has retained much of its grammar. However, it does have a dual number in addition to its singular and its plural form. And last but not least, it is estimated that almost 100,000 Greek words have been borrowed into the English language. Most of these are scientific words, but they exist in English nonetheless. The next language on our list is none other than the close geographical friend of ancient Greek, Latin. Latin is a highly inflected language, giving it a relatively free word order. The earliest accounts of Latin date back to 1000 BC, and Latin was the main language for the Roman Empire, i.e. one of the most expansive empires in the ancient world. In fact, Vulgar Latin would go on to become the modern Romance languages, so we have actually Latin to thank for languages like French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian, and many others. And perhaps more interestingly, 59% of English words actually have roots in Latin or Latin-based languages. So technically, by speaking English, I'm speaking a bastardized version of Latin. Kind of. Not really. Never mind. The third language on our list is none other than Arabic. Like Greek, the earliest carnation of the Arabic alphabet was actually adapted from the Phoenician alphabet before undergoing changes and becoming the Arabic script that we know today. In fact, that script is the basis for modern Standard Arabic, the Arabic that most people learn in schools. Nobody actually speaks modern Standard Arabic, but rather their own regional dialect. In the world today, it is said that there are about 270 million native Arabic speakers. However, it is estimated that almost 1.7 billion people use Arabic as a religious language, as it is the main language for Islam. Lastly, Arabic is part of the Afro-Asiatic family, just like another language on our list, Hebrew. Even though Arabic and Hebrew are both Afro-Asiatic languages, and they are, in theory, related, there is very little mutual intelligibility between the two languages. This is coming from somebody who does not speak Arabic or Hebrew, so if you have some practical experience with that, definitely leave me a comment below. Hebrew is actually a Canaanite language, a subsect of the Afro-Asiatic languages. Its origins can be traced back to the Kingdom of Israel and Judah, and its first written accounts can be dated back to 1200 BC. Hebrew is in fact a pretty fascinating language because by about the year 600 AD, Hebrew was more or less extinct. However, during the rise of Zionism in the 19th century, Hebrew experienced a revival. Hebrew has gone on to become one of the official languages of Israel, and today about 10 million people speak Hebrew worldwide. Our next language is one that was, for all intents and purposes, extinct, but has also experienced a slight revival. The earliest written accounts of Sanskrit were found in Rig Veda from 3000 BC. I know I'm saying that word wrong, so let's just get this over with. Tell me how to say it properly in the comments below. While Sanskrit is said to have completely died by about 600 AD, modern revival efforts have been put in place, and in fact, it is estimated that there are about 14,000 speakers of Sanskrit who live in India. This is mostly due to the fact that Sanskrit is preserved by its excellent written record. It survives as a religious language in many religious texts, and it also has a great collection of literature. No list talking about the languages of the ancient world would be complete without talking about Chinese. Most of the evidence for the earliest carnation of the Chinese language dates back to 2000 BC. However, some scholars argue that Chinese may be older than that. However, what we do know is that Old Chinese gained prominence during the Zhou dynasty, which lasted from 1122 BC to 256 BC. Mandarin would emerge as the official language of the Chinese Empire. However, that didn't do much to stop other dialects of Chinese from maintaining speakers. In fact, today, when we say Chinese, we generally are using it as an umbrella term to talk about a whole bunch of Sino-Tibetan languages. For an in-depth look at this topic, you can check out my Languages of China video, and let me know what you think there. The next two languages on our list had a very interesting relationship in ancient times. Sumerian and Akkadian were two languages that were spoken literally side by side, and this led to a large amount of bilingualism in the people groups. Sumerian was spoken in the area of Sumer, or what is known today as modern Iraq, and it was spoken there between the years of 3000 BC to 100 AD. Akkadian was also spoken in that region, and it was spoken between the years of 2500 BC until 100 AD. However, these languages were spoken so close to each other and they influenced each other so much that they actually created what is known as a Sprachbund. A Sprachbund is an area of linguistic convergence, or where two languages, even though they're distinct from each other, become more alike because of their geographical proximity to one another. This led to Sumerian and Akkadian sharing a lot of the same features and a lot of the same vocabulary, even though they did not have the same linguistic roots. In fact, Sumerian and Akkadian even used the same writing system at one point. Another language that was spoken in the region of Sumerian and Akkadian is none other than Persian, or Farsi as it is known to modern-day speakers. Farsi is an Indo-Iranian language, and its first scripts date back to 500 BC, to a time during the First Persian Empire. In fact, these first written records are not necessarily able to be read by modern Farsi speakers. That is because these ancient scripts show Farsi being written in Old Persian cuneiform, which is itself very closely related to the cuneiform used for the Sumerian and Akkadian languages. However, during and after the Muslim conquest of Persia in 640 AD, Farsi adopted an alphabet that was based off of the Arabic alphabet. This led to classical Persian being used by many poets and writers, and Persian itself becoming a lingua franca for parts of the Muslim world. And last but not least, where would a list about the languages of the ancient world be without Egyptian? Egyptian is an Afro-Asiatic language, meaning that it is related to other languages like Arabic and Hebrew, and the earliest full written accounts date back to 2690 BC. However, the earliest hieroglyphs supposedly date back to 3300 BC. Speaking of hieroglyphs, these are not only interesting because they give us a look into what an ancient Egyptian language could have sounded like, but they also seem to represent more than just one thing. Unlike a standard syllabary or alphabet, one hieroglyph can in fact represent a sound, a word, or a syllable. For example, this symbol on its own means the word sun. However, these symbols represent the sounds b, n, r, and e to make the word sweet. Ancient Egyptian is thought to only have 3 vowel sounds, a, e, and u. Though ancient Egyptian died along with much of the ancient Egyptian civilization, it is survived by languages like Demotic and Coptic. And there you have it. That's about all I got for you today. However, I do know that there are a bunch of other ancient languages that I didn't even mention, and if you want a part 2 to this video, let me know in the comments below. As usual, you can check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also head on over to my new website. You can find a written transcript of this video on my website, as well as other cool and interesting language-related tidbits. Furthermore, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.